Come back. I'm gonna have a new lake here. I'm always excited to fish new lakes. I'm making a point this year to fish several new lakes actually. And I was thinking about what to do this weekend. I can only get out this Saturday, which is May. I don't know. Today is the 10th, 11th. Today's the 11th of May, Thursday. I'm recording this Thursday night, May 11th. I decided today to fish Lake Evergreen tomorrow. I've heard a lot about Lake Evergreen, and I'm going to give you a breakdown on how I'm going to approach this lake. I never fished before. I'm going to do my research online, come up with a game plan, if you want to say pre-fish the lake. But let's get some information about Lake Evergreen. You go on the Illinois Department website I'm on here now. I fish Illinois. Click on Evergreen Lake here. We get some information about the lake here. It has a 10 horsepower limit, and I have a 60, so that means I'm going to be renting a boat. I called down there. On the weekends right now, they rent boats. They only have three. They have 5.5 horsepower motors, so I'm going old school. Going to rent the boat. 5.5 horsepower, going to get out there, and I'm limited to fish from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. That's when the boat rentals open. So I'm going to be out there. So I'm going to get my portable Garmin unit. Going to do some mapping, but let's get some information about the lake. This is our pre-fishing we're going to do here. That's the first thing we're going to do. So it's we can see up here it's 925 acres, which is a pretty good sized lake. I never fished this lake, and I've heard a lot about it, and I've had comments, a handful of comments throughout the many years here about doing fishing this lake or doing a breakout of this lake. So now's a good time. Now, it being the middle of May, it's not quite summer pattern. I typically like to fish new lakes in summer pattern because I'm going to have the highest fish activity normally. We're just maybe a couple of weeks away, 2, 3 weeks away from what I would call summer pattern. Maybe even a little bit longer than that. But uh, I got an opportunity to go down there tomorrow since I can only get out for one day this weekend. So I thought, well, at least I'll get some mapping done and get familiar with the lake. So if I do go down there again, I'll know exactly where to spend my time, concentrate my efforts. But let's learn a little about the lake here. Like we said, 925 acres. It's a 10 horse limit, so I'm renting a boat. I'm told you can launch your boat and you can use your big outboard to load and unload. But if you have anything over a 10 horsepower motor, you cannot run it. You have to use the electric. So hopefully I might find some good spots close to the boat ramp, and I can go down there with my boat later. But let's just get some more information about the lake here. This lake, if you're looking at the stocking records here, Muskies, smallmouth, saugeyes, they do have some bass stocking, but let's click on additional stocking information here. Give you a history for like the last 13 years or so. And you can see, look at the stocking information here, that the lake is primarily managed as a musky lake and as a saugeye lake. Saugeye is a hybrid between a walleye and a sauger. So, and they have been some periodic stockings of smallmouth bass in here too. I thought I saw a couple of largemouth bass stockings in there. So that's what the state is managing this lake, primarily for muskies and saugeyes. But let's take a look at the state gives you a little recap of the fishery here. It says crappie average, largemouth good, but muskie excellent and saugeye excellent. And if you read what it says here about muskie, it says that they did muskies collected in 2019. The largest muskie collected in 2019 was just under 48 inches and weighed 39.3 pounds, which beats the current state record of 38.5 pounds. They listed here as an excellent fishery. I'm guessing it's got a good population of muskies. Most fishermen don't target deep water. And when I mean deep water, I mean anything, 8 to 10 feet and deeper. Just to give you a little bit of a history lesson on Otter Lake, which I did a breakdown of that lake a year or two ago. And that was a lake that was managed for muskies, and I don't say I'm not going to say I caught all the muskies, but we did really good out there. look up that video if you want to hear me talking about Otter Lake. But I found three prominent structures all close to the dam area. And one day I went out there, I caught 9. I went back the next weekend for one day and caught 10 in one day. Um, so it was a really good muskie fishery there. So if you know structure, and know especially deep structure, how to present your lures, you can have a really good trip here. I'm hoping that this uh, Evergreen Lake is going to be a sleeper muskie lake for me too here. So we'll find out. So anyway, it sounds like according to the state, it's got a really good population of muskies. Now let's look at saugeyes. And it says here that the current state record came out of this lake in 2001. And real quick here, it says that in 2021, just a couple of years ago, they shocked, or they did a collection, and in 2018. Well, I don't know what, I can't read what this says here. In 2021, it weighed 10.2 pounds, and the current state record is 9.68 pounds. So they collected a one in 2021 that would have beaten the state record again. A 10-pound saugeye is a huge fish. So it says here, it sounds like it's got a really good population of big fish here. So I'm getting excited about this lake because, being a structure fisherman, I specialize in fishing deep structure. And I got a feeling here that a lot of these fish have yet to be tapped or even sea lure that often throughout the fishing season. So I'm excited. So anyway, we got a lake here that it appears that has a really good population of muskies and saugeyes. So I'm sure we'll get some smallies and maybe largemouth mixed in there too. So we know a little bit about the lake. So let's take a look at Navionics. Now, if you go to Navionics, you click on the tab here. It'll give you if you click on Navionics, these are lakes that Navionics actually went out and mapped. And you can see that this lake was never mapped by Navionics. But then if you click on this again and click on sonar charts, you'll see sometimes Navionics will update a sonar chart, which is an HD map, or they will collect data for users that will send their data in, and they will update it. So this is more than likely from someone that fished the lake that mapped it with a Garmin unit and share the information with Garmin, or which Navionics owns Garmin. So this is going to be helpful. I've got a map of the lake, which I'm being that a user made the data, sent the data in. It may not be very accurate, but I think it will give me a ballpark. And all I'm looking for is a ballpark as to what areas are going to have structure situations. When I mean a structure situation, that's an area where I believe that it's going to hold fish. It's an area that I want to cast and troll. I want to, really work it thoroughly. So looking at the boat rental is like right here. You can, they even show a little dock here. So that's my starting point, and it's pretty much up in the headwaters just about. So being that we're not quite summer pattern, when I leave the dock on Saturday, I'm gonna probably start. I got two ways to present our lures: trolling and casting. And when you're fishing a new lake for the very first time, trolling is your teacher. You're going to learn the lake. You're going to learn the structures. You're going to find the structures by trolling. Trolling is going to tell you the bottom condition. You're going to feel that spoon plug up at the bottom. You're going to be able to tell if it's sand, if it's rock, if it's gravel. Trolling is your teacher. It's going to map the lake. You're learning so much information. You're collecting so much information while you're trolling. And you also have a lure in the water that you got a chance of catching a fish too. So any time I'm fishing a new lake for the very first time, I am going to troll it and troll it and troll it until I get to know that lake. Once I know the lake, then I don't really have to troll it anymore. I know where the structures are located. I know where the contact points on the structure. I know the casting position on that structure. Good example of that, once again, look at my Otter Lake video I did, I think it was probably 2 years ago now, where I went out there and I mapped these lakes. This is before This is probably I'm aging myself like 30 years ago, where I made maps the old-fashioned way, trolling spoon plugs, drawing it on a piece of paper. And once you know what the structure looks uh, like I went back to Otter Lake, and I probably 75% of my fishing was casting because I knew what the structures. I knew where the fish would come up on structures. When they got active, I knew exactly where I wanted to be. So, but in order to get to that position, you're going to have to troll because the trolling is your teacher. It's going to show you all that information. It's going to show you when to cast, where to cast, how to cast, why to cast. Trolling is going to be very, very important phase in learning a new lake for the first time. So, anyway, I think you all got the point on that. So, we're going to look at two maps here. This is the Navionics map, and we're going to compare it to, well, I guess I might as well show it since I got it up here. Lowrance, a friend of mine told me about this a few years ago. Lowrance has their mapping software, and they share it with the public as well. It's called genismaps.com/social map. CMAP, and you're not going to have every lake on here. It's only going to be lakes where users, people that own Lowrance units, save the data, save the map, and shared it with Lowrance. Then Lowrance puts it up here for everyone to have. So, and it looks like someone did a very thorough job mapping Evergreen Lake and sending that in. Matter of fact, this map looks a lot more detailed, I'll say, than the Navionics maps. But they are very similar. Like, well, let's just compare the two maps just for kicks here. Once again, you can see the boat rental is going to be right here, and it's pretty much it's just about up in the headwaters, and that's probably where I'd like to start my fishing anyway. We're in that transitional period, just getting ready to go in a summer pattern, and I would suspect that the walleye or the saugeyes and muskies should be pretty active, or I would think that they're almost in summer pattern now because those species spawn early in the season. I'm sure that the muskies spawned here. Oh gosh, I would guess at least a month and a half ago, and the walleyes about that same, just before the muskies actually. So I'm thinking that if the weather conditions are good tomorrow, I mean Saturday, that I would think I might hopefully run across some good movements here. But up in the headwaters, that looks like the deepest water we have in the area here is around 12 feet or so. There's no recognizable channel, at least on this map here. When I get out there, I might see on my depth finder that there is a recognizable channel, but we'll see. But I want to look at structures that jump out to me that are big here. And this looks like a really nice bar that comes off this point of land over here. Let's just compare it to Navionics here. Yeah, Navionics is pretty much showing the same thing. They're both showing a big bar that comes out over here. Let's go back to Lowrance. So I would say I've got a fishing situation right here. This is an area where I'm going to make several trolling passes on here, see where what I might think might be the contact point. I'm going to see where the drop-off is, the break line. If it's too shallow, it may not be a very good structure. If it's got some good depth to it, this could be a very productive structure. But I'm going to get on the water and find that all out. But I would say this is definitely a structure situation here. I'm definitely going to map this thing, and I'm also going to, and when I'm done fishing it, even if I don't catch anything, or regardless what I do trolling, I'm going to put the anchor down and fan cast this structure as well too. So I definitely would work this over here. That's just about up in the headwaters here. Yeah, I don't think I would go any further up headwaters right here. So it's just right out from the boat rental here. So I got one structure situation here. It's showing a little hump out here. Does Navionics show that? Let's look. Yeah, it's hard to tell. Doesn't appear to. So, like I say, these maps may be accurate. They may be vaguely accurate. It's hard to say. But in both cases, both Lowrance and Navionics are indicating there's a nice bar here, so I'm going to fish it. The only thing that I may be a little concerned about is if it breaks a little too shallow. It may be breaking too shallow to hold fish, but I won't know until I get out there and fish it. So that's going to be my starting point. And then after that, and once again, it's a structured situation, so I'm going to troll it and cast it. When I'm done fishing this, I don't see anything here, but as Buck would say, this is just trolling water. There's no features here, no structure situations. I'm going to probably troll until I make it to my next structure situation. And why I'm trolling this, what this trolling water, as Buck calls it, if I catch a fish, then I'm going to stop, go back, and ask myself why that fish was there. Is it a straggler, or is there a feature that's not really shown on the map that may exist? And if so, I'm going to go back and make a couple more passes on it and check it out. So after I leave this structure here, I'm going to go down here. This back here is, well, sort of a bay. I guess you can say this is a big island here, but I'm sure this is all shallow back here. Looks like you might have a sharper break here. It's hard to tell if that's really going to be a structure situation or not. Let's compare this with Navionics here. I mean, you see they are quite different back here. Here's that island. They're showing that at hump, but I'll probably just make a trolling pass in here and out of here, and I'll just use my own judgment if I think it's if I see something I like. But it looks like to me it's sort of trolling water. You can tell that between Navionics and Lowrance, they're showing this area a little differently, both of them. So one is probably sort of correct, the other probably isn't. But let's keep on going down. Now it looks like you got a bar here coming off of this point. Let's see what Navionics shows by chance. Oh yeah, Navionics is showing it too. So I'm sure that there's a structure there. It looks like it's actually a hump or a hump on a bar. Comes out. I'm definitely going to check this out. It goes to the shallows. It looks like you might have a deeper portion of the bar on this side here. My only interpretation looking at this, that it may be too shallow. Once again, you can find, a lot of people would think they'll find, look at this great bar I found, it's excellent, and they fish it all day, don't catch any fish, and they don't know why. Well, most of the time, that bar has a very shallow break line, and is like Buck says in his material, the fish don't make it to the shallows that often. You have to have good weather and water conditions. They're going to dictate how far the fish migrate when they move. And if you've got a break line that breaks, or the drop off is at 5 feet, it's not going to see too many schools of fish throughout the year. But if that break line is 10 feet, 12 feet, 14 feet, you got a much better chance of schools of fish using that structure. But I would check this out, because there is a structure situation here. I'm going to once again troll it, and I'll know in probably about 3 or 4 trolling passes if I think this is a really good structure that I need to spend time on, or if it's too shallow of a break line, I'll keep on moving. But trolling it, like I say, 3 or 4 passes, I'll know in a short time if I'm going to spend a lot of time here, or if I'm just going to just make a few passes and just move on. But I would say that this is a second spot structure situation that I'm definitely going to check out. So we got one here and one here. And let's move down here. I got a shallow bay here. Now, as we're gradually getting closer to the dam, you can tell it's getting deeper too. Like the flats in this area here look like they're 12, 13, 14 feet. Now we're 16, 18. So we're getting deeper as we get closer to the dam, which is what I would expect. Now let's get over here. I'm not finding any major structure situations. Once again, this is all trolling water. I'm going to keep my lure in the water and just troll this, see if I get any straggler fish or come across any features or structures that aren't mapped. Then I come over here, and it looks like there's a good indication of a bigger bar here. It's a little bit deeper here. This looks very promising too. Let's take a look at Navionics. That would be right here. See, Navionics doesn't show it as distinctly as Lowrance does, but I'm going to have to check and see. Who knows which one is right. Although this Lowrance map looks like it's you can just tell by the way the contour lines are drawn at it. probably more accurate, I'm guessing. But it looks like it's got a deep finger off this bar here. It breaks, it's probably shallower break line here, then it probably runs out a little deeper. Um, I don't know. I would definitely work this area though and check it out. So that's the third potential structure situation I've got here. Let's keep on going down. I've got a little feeder cut here. It looks like that there's a bar here, but it's hard to tell if it's a well distinct bar or it looks like it's sort of like a flat bar. Let's see what Navionics shows. Let's see, Navionics. This one's a. I'm gonna troll it, and if it as I'm trolling it, I'll make a few passes on it. If it looks like I see a deeper break line out there, then I'll work it. But I'm gonna fish this too. It might be a very productive structure. I won't know until I get out there. Um, Judging at the map, it's hard to say. It's the jury's out on that one. I'm gonna have to put my lures in the water and check it out myself. But I will stop here and make at least a few passes on that to see if there's anything there. But let's move down. Let's just zoom out a little bit. I mean, we're almost at the dam here. I think the dam, the spillway, you can see is right over here. So I've got a little feeder cut here that's created a couple bars on each side of it here. Let's just compare that with Navionics. Yeah, Navionics is sort of showing the same thing. They're pretty similar there, but I'm going to work that and see what it looks like. You can see, we haven't moved that much further down, but we're already in 30 foot. The deep water in this area here now is around 30, 33 feet here. Look at this, 37, 36, 38. We've got some good depth here too. So, boy, in the case of muskies and walleye saugers too. And I can't wait to get out here. So I'm going to fish this too. Check this thing out here. But let's look over here. Now look at this. You got this big bar that comes off of here. Over here, you got a really sharp break over here. Looks like it might peter out here. But this looks really good. Look at it, and you got a really shallow. Look at this. You got about a 50. Looks like, according to this, I would expect to find a break line, a drop off at around that 15, 16 foot depth, going down to 35, 36 feet here. This looks like a really, really good spot right here. And depending on how well defined this break line is, this bar, it could be down here as well too. And over here, you can see that it breaks a little too shallow on this side. If this map is fairly accurate, you can see it's about 8, 9 foot it breaks, where we said that here it appears that it breaks around 15, 16 feet. So my interpretation just from the contour map only would say that more than likely my contact point is going to be here. But I'm going to have to go out there on the lake and verify it myself with lures on the water and going back and forth on it and make my own judgment. But I would say I've got a major structure situation right here. Matter of fact, just from what I've seen so far of this lake, I would say that this here is going to be my primary structure situation, and this is going to be a structure that these fish are going to use come summertime. I'm talking June, July, August, September. I would think that you've got a good chance of catching muskies and saugeyes off this structure. Really looking forward to it. Now I'm going out there this Saturday, which would be May 13th. So, it's not quite full summer pattern, but we'll see. I may be having better luck up when it's these structures up main lake here. And that's about it. I mean, the rest of this I would say, is just trolling water. And it's trolling water until proven otherwise. But since this lake primarily is muskies and saugeyes, I want to find some deep structure. And I think So let's just recap this real quick here. I've got one structure situation here. I've got a second one here I'm going to check out. Um, you know, there might be something here, but I'm just basing it off the map. Here's a third structure situation I'm checking out right here. And this one, the fourth one, which on paper looks like the best one to me. So I've got 4 spots when I get out here that I'm going to work and really map and concentrate my time efforts on it. So once I know this lake, and I know I've got my own map of the lake, and it's probably going to look a lot different than this. It's going to be a lot more accurate. I'll know exactly where the contact point is. Just like I did at Otter Lake, I had this big bar here, and once you find out where that contact point is, that when the fish move, they're going to be coming up here. So I'm going to, you know, I'll have a casting position right here. If this is the contact point, I know when I come here on future trips, I just know I need to come over here, drop my anchor or spot lock, whatever, and just wait for these fish to come up or just fan cast this area here. Well, I'm looking forward to it. Only thing I didn't talk about is watercolor, and obviously I don't know what the watercolor is until I get out there. Let me take a quick look on Google Maps. A lot of times you might be able to tell watercolor by on Google Maps just by the satellite image. Here, Evergreen Lake, just north of Bloomington Normal. Click on my satellite image here. Yeah, it's really hard to tell. It looks like this might be a light yellow green. So you see that catch that boat there. His wake looks pretty clear. I'm guessing it's probably a light yellow green lake. You know, who knows when this image was probably taken. I'm guessing in the fall. I can just tell by the some trees are changing colors here. You can tell this shallow area here has probably got better watercolor, medium yellow green, I'm guessing. I will see. You know, am I going to have a weed condition? Reservoirs, typically not, but you never know. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So I will post my results in a few days after you're watching this. That means that I was out there, hopefully caught some fish, and the next video you see is going to be the results and me talking about how these structures actually looked, what I found out there, and hopefully some muskies and some saugeyes will be coming in the boat. And watch the second video. Thanks for watching.